Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another glorious episode of the R Smash Brothers AMA, brought to you by The Daily Dot. I, of course, am your host, Ian Double John Barker, wearing a shirt that you've seen many times. We have a very special guest tonight, Ice, coming to us all the way from Germany to give us that Fox knowledge and answer all of your burning questions. But before we get to the guest, the folks down here in Austin took a very special trip to the Battle of the Five Gods at South by Southwest. We talked to some of the biggest pros, some of the biggest commentators, and we got some interesting insight that we want to share with you right now. Everything that's going on in that big, gorgeous theater is because of how far Smash has come. How does that feel?
Oh, it feels amazing. You know, coming from just playing in our basements and in our rooms to
friends' basements and things like that. We were just in garages and everything, and now look,
on a theater stage in front of hundreds of thousands of people. It feels pretty great.
I don't think anyone who's currently doing big things in Smash ever thought we would get to this level. So I think we're just kind of, you know, taking what the crazy universe gave us and running with it.
I woke up before class in high school to practice tech skill at like 5 in the morning, and I knew in my heart of hearts that it was a giant waste of time, but I couldn't stop myself.
It's just crazy the heights Melee has climbed to, and esports in general, and I cannot wait to see what heights we reach in the future.
I don't know what to think or feel about it, man. It's so crazy to think how far Melee has come and how far it's going to continue to go after this.
We have money beginning to come in for the players. They're getting to be compensated for their time. Sponsors are coming in. Trips are being paid for. Hotels. Players are finally getting the respect they deserve after putting in all this time into this super hard game.
And it's just really exciting that other people, when they watch, sort of see the excitement that we feel when we play. And because every esport, it's not really about wanting to reward people for being able to put a ball in a hoop. It's about the feeling you put in other people when they watch you do that thing they like. So when I play that game and I do well and people get excited, that's really awesome, because what the real product of esports is the entertainment and the feeling that people get when they go, I want to be able to do something that good one day.
So then the question is Smash esports now?
100% esports. You'd be crazy not to call it esports at this point.
Man, isn't that up to you guys? Isn't that you guys' call? I don't know, man.
I guess it is.
Definitely.
Just watch Mango stream if you don't think we're esports.
We are definitely esports. Melee, baby, we made it.
I think someone really wise said that that the game developers can make a competitive game, but it's up to the community to make it esport. So I guess. But I don't know. We're getting there.
Dude, I think we're still like the baby of esports, and it already feels like we're so huge. So if we keep going, we'll see.
But I think we're not, partly because we still have so many people. They're putting in all this time, and they're really good, barely making money. They have to, like, you know, Shroom's a good example. He's a top 10-ish player, and he still has to work another job to, you know, keep his money and everything. That's ridiculous. You know, we gotta go more. We gotta go deeper. More esports.
Such a joy, honestly, to hear those guys talk passionately about the game that they've been playing forever. I can't speak for you guys, but I played 3 hours of Bloodborne this weekend, and I was already ready to give up. Yet Melee lives on. Coming at you next is our guest. Joining us all the way from Germany is Ice. And Ice, I have, as we discussed prior to the show, I have decided not to pronounce your full name because I could not conceivably do it justice. Can you actually tell, how do you pronounce your name properly?
So my name is Mustafa Ice Akçakaya, and yeah, that's how you pronounce it, I guess.
And I asked him beforehand how he pronounced his last name. He said it, and I said, out of respect to you, I will avoid pronouncing that live on the air. For those of you who aren't familiar with Ice, what are you, living under a rock? He's one of the best Fox players in the world, coming to you from Germany, a guy that has squared off against Armada several times and is a better man for it. Actually, you know, honestly, how does it feel growing up in Europe and facing Armada so many times in a row?
It feels really good, I guess. I mean, I learned a lot about his playstyle, had a lot of time to, and nowadays I'm pretty much used to face him. It's nothing big anymore, but I'm still looking forward to beat him one day, hopefully.
Well, I think we can expect that coming up before too long, at least based on the way that you've been playing lately. For those of you who aren't familiar with the show, every Monday we hand a guest over to the waiting arms of our Smash Brothers, where the mods very graciously put up a thread where you ask your favorite questions, upvote your favorites, downvote your least favorites, and we ask them live on the show every Thursday or Wednesday, wherever we can get our guests into the studio. Ice, are you ready for the community's burning questions?
Yeah, let's go. I'm ready.
Excellent. So your first question comes to us from Koba Kid. Koba Kid wants to know, you've been jokingly referred to as Discount Leffen and often categorized as having the European Fox playstyle. Do you think there are significant differences between how you play and how Leffen plays that people overlook when comparing you to him?
So first I have to say that the Discount Leffen thing, and the first time I heard about it was someone posting it on Twitter, I think. I never heard about it before, but I can kind of see the connection and why people think like that. But to be honest, I think it's quite a lazy comparison. I mean, there are similarities like, okay, we both play White Fox, we both are from Europe. Some people even think that I'm living in Sweden, even if that's not the case. And I think there are some things that we both do, but at the same time, I think I'm way more riskier in a lot of situations where he takes his time and I'm not. So I think this is one of the main differences between our playstyles. But yeah, that's what I would say. I mean, you could also say that that Lucky could be a discount Mango. In a way, because they both play kind of similar, but Mango is way better in the things that they do. But they both read heavy and aggressive in a way. So I think you can say a lot of people are discounts one of another. And in the end, we all steal stuff from each other. So I don't know what to say about that.
It's funny because when people watch high-level Fox, and it's hard to tell the difference in technique, execution, strategy, things like that. I love that the way that they draw similarities between you and Leffen is based on the color of character you play, the country you live in, and that you're both from here. I mean, those are the things that really affect playstyle, right?
Yeah. Like I said, I can understand where it's coming from, but in my opinion, it's just a lazy statement.
Fair enough. Well, there's a second part to this question. We've got a bit of a novel on our hands. The second part of the question was, do you think there are distinctions in how you play that people don't care to notice because they categorize you as just a European Fox?
So, since I'm not that good at certain parts with Fox yet, since I didn't take my time to train them yet, one of the main things I would say is the follow-up after an up throw. As people might have noticed that in my recent sets, I almost mess up the up throw follow-up every time. Like in my set versus Plup at Genesis 3, I mess up almost every up throw follow-up. And this is because I don't play against humans a lot, I would say, and I didn't train it enough against CPUs, even though they DI nowadays because of the 20XX Tournament Edition. So I would say this is one thing that really holds me back. So in order to overcome that and still get good results, I have to rely on mind games or stuff that I learned by playing other characters like Sheik or my Marth back then. So I go for those mind games in the neutral game that give me my openings. So I have to mind game my opponent more because my punish game is still lacking, I guess.
It's interesting to hear you say that because I mean, you're talking about one component of a very complex character, right? The up throw setups. Is the competition at the top that fierce that not having that one part of your game nailed down makes that big a difference?
Definitely. Getting up throw follow-ups with Fox is probably one of the main things you have to look out for if you want to develop a good Fox. And me having a big weakness in that area really, really holds me back, I think.
And consider then that your recent performance at Genesis 3 was excellent. Your results have been on the rise lately. If you fix that small part of your game, what's the ceiling for Ice?
Yeah, nowadays I'm grinding daily, and one of those things is also the up throw follow-ups. And yeah, I'm pretty confident for the future. I think I get the hang of it now. There was one really bad habit I didn't fully understand when it comes down to following up properly after an up throw. It was that you actually can take your time in a lot of situations instead of like going for the one frame dash back into jump. So now I learned that I can take my time, and this helps me a lot when it comes down to following up. So yeah, by fixing all those bad habits and training daily, I think I will do a much better job in the future.
Yeah, one thing I noticed about watching your game, I went into the film room today, if you will, and I watched several of your games, and the one thing that you seem to have nailed down is putting yourself in the proper space to punish an opponent, and then waiting that sort of half a beat to force them to make a reaction, and then you play on that, either like we talked about before the show, either throw, dash dance, or the shield into the punish. How long did it take to train that moment of hesitation that really defines your play style into your game?
I think this is one of the ways how I see the game. I basically try to look at the neutral game like I would look at rock, paper, scissors in a way, but it's much easier said than done, and I think it also holds me back in a way, because that way I can get manipulated really easily by more experienced players, top players, for example, because they basically know what game I'm playing. So by manipulating me or knowing what I'm going for, even before I do it, they have a big advantage, I think. And this is because I just try to play the game as good as possible instead of like trying to focus on the person that I'm playing against and playing the player versus player matchup.
See, that's why I always played rock, paper, scissors, laser gun when I was little, and then I just always win. So you just gotta put the laser gun in your game, right? Oh, I guess technically Fox does have a laser gun, so that doesn't really apply in this situation.
True. Yeah.
Moving on to our next question, and this is one actually that I'm pretty curious about myself. Ann Villain wants to know, why did you pick the name Ice when you could have just gone with Mustafa? Because I mean that's a powerful name, Mustafa. Like that's like kings wear that name, man. So why go with Ice?
So nowadays I would like to name myself Mustafa, because I like that name more than Ice too. But back then it didn't even seem like an option, because everybody, like that's how I looked at it at least, everybody had to use a gamer tag. So I was thinking about one, and even before I started playing against a competitive Smash player, there was a rivalry going on between me and a friend of mine. And they were giving themselves already names like Fire, or there was another one calling himself Shadow. So it was my turn to think about a name for me. And for some reasons, I picked Ice because I like the name, and Fire versus Ice sound really appealing to me. So yeah, I stayed with that name, and ever since then I couldn't let it go. I couldn't change it, I guess.
There's something powerful about having a nickname that's just like one word. I mean, like Korean esports players have been doing that for years, and frankly, Shadow sounds pretty badass too. To be completely honest.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's the name of one of my friends though, but it's a long time ago, almost 10 years now that I heard about him or played against him. But yeah.
Yeah, I went with the gamer tag Samuel because it was in one of the Halo novels when I was young, and now we actually have a Samuel on staff. And so when we play Hearthstone in our company tournament, everybody's like, why am I playing Sam? I thought not a good name for it's not good to choose another name as your name. Like, you don't want to be called Jeff when you could pick something like Ice, obviously. Moving on to our next question. Cute Dog IRL wants to know, about a year ago, you said Yoshi is the third best character in PAL. Do you still think this? If so, could you explain why? Because I'm not convinced.
Yeah, I'm not convinced either anymore. I think I changed my opinion about that like half a year ago, or maybe something like that. Yeah, back then I would say I was a little bit biased about Yoshi's placement in the PAL tier list, because I got beaten up by Amser really, really hard, and I was trying to look at the matchups of the top characters in the PAL tier list, and I came to the conclusion that Yoshi was third best, but I would put him a little bit more down these days, but not that much. So I think I changed my opinion about that matchup.
I'd actually love to pick your brain for a second. You talk about, I mean, over here in North America, Yoshi's obviously a very low-tier character, and then in PAL, he's obviously not at the top. What does AMSA do with Yoshi that suddenly transforms this low-tier character into an actual opponent?
He gets those double jump cancel up airs, and he's really good at it. So he's comboing his opponents with it really well. And he's also really consistent when it comes down to edge guarding. Mm-hmm. So since him being a really good player and him pushing Yoshi's abilities to the limit or to the best of his ability really shows how good of a character Yoshi can be. And I think if he gets even better at things like parrying, there are a lot of more things that Yoshi can do. But I think he's not practicing that much anymore, so I don't know what to expect from him in the future. But we're going to have a chance to see him this weekend at Pound, and I'm really looking forward to see him.
Do you ever look at a player like AMSA and say, dude, if you just switch to play Fox, like your results would sky? Does that ever cross your mind when you see somebody stubbornly playing a low-tier character?
No, I think I respect that. I think you should play whatever you feel more comfortable with, and what character gives you the most fun, I guess, or at least try to find a good balance between those two factors. So I respect him for playing Yoshi, and like I said, I don't think Yoshi is that bad of a character.
Well, there you go. There was actually a follow-up to this question, another long one. The Cute Dog IRL also wants to know, what are you expecting to see from Yoshi in the next couple years? Any chance you'll bring your Yoshi to a tournament in the future?
So my Yoshi is probably one of my worst characters. I would say it's Mewtwo, Yoshi, and Pichu probably that are my worst characters. And I never practice Yoshi at all, but I think to answer the question about how good Yoshi will perform in the future, we have to look at the top Yoshis and how much time they spent to double up his metagame. And since AMSA is probably the best by far, it all comes down how much time he will put into his Yoshi gameplay.
So for you, it's not a matter of the metagame shifting, it's just about developing the skill set needed to actually play Yoshi effectively?
Yes, true. And of course, being a good player also plays a really big part in it, and the combination basically makes it. And yeah, it all comes down to AMSA, I would say. But maybe there's a uprising Yoshi player I didn't know about.
I think if there was somebody who challenged top players as effectively as AMSA does with Yoshi, that would be all over Smashboards and Reddit by now. Because who doesn't love a low-tier hero in a fighting game, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Moving on to our next question. This next one comes to us from SC Red. SC Red wants to know, as a top 20 player who generally gets the least amount of practice with the other regions as the other players, what is something you do to keep in shape?
So what I do, I play against CPU all day, or at least as long as I can, without getting tired or making my hands hurt. And what I did a lot was playing against Ganon level 1 and trying to do.
It looks like we may have lost Ice's feed. Oh, there we go. Ice, you were back. Sadly, we did not hear your advanced practice technique. Go ahead and regale us with that again.
Okay, so yeah, I play against Ganondorf, and I do a lot of wave shining and trying to edge guard him probably. But it became pretty monotonic, I would say, and monotone. And
monotonous.
Monotonous, yes. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, nowadays I try to play more against Marv and Jakes and Fox, so I think all I do is just trying to combo the CPUs 0 to death every time.
Do you feel like that does translate well? I guess when you finally get the setup or you finally get an opposing player in that position, does that training come back in, or do you find that it's hard to adapt that because you're playing against somebody who could DI out of it?
Yeah, you definitely name it. It's really hard to adapt because CPUs don't really teach you that, and I feel I play my best when I have enough time to warm up against better players, because it basically pushes me to my limits and it makes me play way better. And this is one thing that definitely holds me back, like I said. And yes.
Pro tip: maybe start practicing against level 2 Ganondorf. I think that would double the effectiveness of your I'm not a rapper. I'm not an expert. It's just a thought. Moving on to our next question. Charizard Sucks wants to know, what's it like being really, really, really ridiculously good looking?
I wasn't really that aware of it, to be honest. A lot of people make compliments when it comes down to my looks and stuff, and I didn't even know how to respond, probably. So I just say thank you and go on with my life, I would say. Yeah.
Well, another pro tip: when Calvin Klein comes forward with its new model of esports wear, give him a call, man. You might have a career. You'll be ready. All right, going on to our next question. This next one comes from Arrows Arc. Arrows Arc wants to know, players such as Westballs and Mango have often commented on the European style of Smash. What are your thoughts on this? Is there a definitive style, or does it vary from player to player?
Is it European style or European Fox style?
They're specifically asking about the European style.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I would say European style versus American style, since those are the most two important ones. Mm-hmm. Comes down to reads versus going for guaranteed stuff, or offstage edge guards versus onstage edge guards. So the Americans are more risk-taking in that sense, and the Europeans are trying to be more safe in a way. So instead of going for quick damage and resetting the neutral game into another approach that builds up a lot of pressure, what Americans do a lot, in my opinion, Europeans will go for the 0 to death almost every time, or at least try to get the combo into an edge guard situation where they can convert from. So this is like the biggest thing, I would say, that makes that difference between the two continents.
Do you think that helps explain why Armada was so difficult to kill on Peach? Because even if you were able to approach him, the European style, as you're describing it, really maximizes that damage on opponents on an opponent's mistake.
So the thing with Armada is that he's not only playing for guaranteed stuff, and he picks his spots really well with Peach. And what really gave him the lead, in my opinion, was him going for those crazy reads in corner situations where he's going for full jump up airs in order to beat the full jump escapes of his opponents. And yeah, just going for really smart reads in really specific situations gave him the edge that he needed to get his combos going. So Armada is probably a mix between going for guaranteed stuff and reads, and that's what really makes him as a player, I guess.
Always scary when a player is both safe and fortuitously reckless.
Yes.
Absolutely. You know, another thing that I've noticed between your play style and several of the other Europeans is that it's very, I guess disciplined is the best word I could come up with. It's very precise. The movement is very crisp. That was like the first word that came to my mind when I watched you play, is it's very crisp. Is that just part of how Europeans approach Super Smash Brothers, is that it's sort of something to be mastered in with all the minutia, or is that once again just a part of your effort to stay safe in a matchup?
I would say it's being safe and trying to be in the best possible position to punish every attempt of the opponent. Yeah.
There you go. So if you just practice for years and perfect every piece of your gameplay, you too can be Ice. Moving on to our next question. This one comes from Kamikaze Caddy. Kamikaze Caddy wants to know, I know you really like SpongeBob, so I have to ask, what is your favorite SpongeBob episode? You and I are kindred spirits in this one. I am a SpongeBob devotee, so let's hear your favorite episode.
So yeah, I love SpongeBob, but I stopped watching it when the new episodes came up. So my favorite SpongeBob episode would probably the one with the Muscle Beach and where Sandy puts in SpongeBob even though he doesn't want to because he has those fake arms and he gains a lot of confidence from it. And yeah, the episode is really, really funny in my opinion. So yeah, that's probably my favorite episode.
You know what my favorite one is the one where they make a sundae out of all the like garbage and stuff, and then SpongeBob has really bad breath, so he keeps scaring everybody away. That's
that's a really good one.
Either that one or the one with the magic conch where they get lost in the forest and they have to keep asking the
Yes.
Can we Will, our technical director, can you just put on SpongeBob? I think that's probably the best way to spend the rest of the episode. My 2 cents.
No, I can't.
No, he can't. He hearing in my ear. He can't. Moving on. Our next question comes to us from Armada Fanboy, who wants to know, you've been pretty quiet in regards to the Smash Summit. I really want to see you there, but I think more people need a reason why we should vote for you. We don't need a long post like Wizro, but I just want to know why we should vote for you.
So if people want to see me there, then let me say that I really, really want to have that top player environment, and being able to go to the summit and play against top players for some days before a tournament, I think really in me in front of the screen, and I just really want to have the chance to prove myself and show everyone that I have the ability to hang with the big guys, and I think going to the summit really can help me to accomplish that.
You forgot to add that you're really, really, really ridiculously good looking. I think that's a big selling point. Imagine the publicity posters with Ice on them, Ice and Mango's manly. I would watch that in a heartbeat. Just my 2 cents. Moving on to our next question. Airbender wants to know, do you think you have what it takes to beat Armada and Leffen and become the king of Europe?
I think I'm ready right now because when I went to Battle of 5 Gods, I was playing against Armada a lot, and at one point we were going back and forth, and my punish game got really good in those friendly sessions. So I think I can already play against them, but I think it's a matter of staying warmed up, and Battle of the 5 Gods already feels really far away, even though it was like only 2 weeks now or something like that. But yeah, it's all about staying warmed up and for me to play against players basically. So I think I can do it, but in order to do it, I would need a lot of warm up.
Now, my question for you then is, people talk about improving, players getting better, but when you're at or near the top 8 in Smash, I can only imagine that progress and getting better, as they say, is really incremental. When you've already got so much of your game down pat, how do you know, like, what makes you notice, hey, I got better, at least by your state? Like, what sort of things do you notice that mean that you've gotten better and you feel more confident to challenge top players?
Okay, so DI is a really big factor, and since the top pros or the professionals have the best DI, obviously being able to combo them into solid 40 to 50% combos on a daily basis is really something that shows to yourself that you already have a really good combo game. And yeah, being able to win the Nutri game, let's say 8 times, and having 8 times being enough in a way to win the whole game is really something that you can use as an evidence that you really improved as a player. But like I said, it comes down to who you're playing against, because DI and things like recovery really play a really big part.
One of the things that sports, conventional sports, has going for it is if you're a bodybuilder and you lift more weight tomorrow than you did today, obviously you got better. If you're a runner and you shave like 5.5 seconds off your time, obviously you got better. Is it hard for up-and-coming players to sort of figure out what the measure of progress is for your ascent to the King of Europe status?
So what I tell people when they want to have tips is that I tell them that they should go for the stuff that is basically guaranteed, where it doesn't matter if you play against an Armada or a Falco Master 606, because being able to do those guaranteed things against no matter what player is really giving you an edge in a lot of situations, and being able to perform those things in high pressure situations is really what counts. So just learn the things that are basically guaranteed and work yourself up from there.
So just figure out, so sort of lay your base and then work on the minutia of your game, if you will.
True, yes.
Well, there you go. It's that simple, people. It's that simple.
It's simple, yeah.
You really think it's that simple? Because I could think of thousands of players out there that would like to disagree with you.
I think that's a part of the problem. I think Einstein once said that the solution a lot of times is a really simple one to a lot of problems, but by seeking for a difficult answer, people are already looking at the wrong picture or have a wrong idea in the first place. So people should just think about the game in a really simple way, I would say, and basically pick the parts where they want to improve on instead of concentrating to be a better player overall, because that doesn't work. You have to pick your spots.
Well, there you go. Okay, I mean, when you lay it out like that, it actually does sound simple. Just had to be framed the right way. Speaking of improving, our next question comes to us from Liquid Brick. Liquid Brick wants to know, or points out that it's interesting to note how you've transitioned through multiple top-tier characters, Marth, Sheik, and now you have a world-class Fox. Can you elaborate on why you chose to fully transfer your time and energy to one character at a time, rather than attempt to dual or even triple main the above characters?
Okay, so the Ice main timeline, I would say, is Falco. So I started playing Smash competitively with Falco. Then I switched over to having a Marth. Then I went to Marth Sheik and dropped Falco because I didn't like to get gimped. And at one point I was also developing a Fox. I was watching a lot of Mewtwo back then, and I started to become a fan of him. So I wanted to main all his characters and also be as good as him. But at one point, I started to drop that idea because I tried to do my own thing, or at least I wanted to. And that's where I started to only main Sheik Marth. And from there, at one day, I had to make a decision because actually the difference between Sheik and NTSC and PAL really made me think if it's possible to concentrate on so many characters at the same time, or even maining Marth and Sheik at the same time. So I had to make a decision, and I decided myself to Sheik because something in my heart told me that I like Sheik the most. So I was concentrating on Sheik from there on, until one day I realized that it's too hard to train NTSC and PAL Sheik at the same time, especially if you're coming from Europe. I think the other way around is much easier, because I think tech chasing in NTSC is harder, even if it sounds weird for a lot of people. So going from NTSC to PAL gives you a big advantage, I think, when you have to tech chase, because the opponent is not able to DI into you and make you guess on which side you're going to land. And yeah, I had to decide myself how I want to continue. And since I'm the kind of player that is willing to train a lot at home alone, and Fox gives you the biggest advantage when you're a player like that. And it's also a lot of fun for me to see me being able to do a lot of flashy stuff with Fox. I decided myself to main Fox from there on. And yeah, it wasn't like a lot of people assume the 20XX thing. It was more of a personal decision.
Fair enough. Is there any way, I mean, we talk about the difference between NTSC and PAL when we talk to European pros. Is there any way you could sort of sum up for those of us who haven't played the PAL version what the critical difference, like how does it feel going from one to the other? Can you give us an analogy or something to sort of describe the differences?
Okay, so the main differences are Fox RB being shorter in PAL, and his up smash being weaker. Other differences are Sheik's down throw being just a tech chase move, or like not being able to kill from it. So those are like the main differences, I would say. And yeah, going from PAL to NTSC for the first time feels really weird because you are under the impression that this is the version where your character gets a buff and you should be able to convert from one down throw into a long combo string, but it feels really weird because you're not used to it, so you start messing up things that are supposed to be easier, but for some reason it's not. So it feels really weird when you do it for the first time.
I suppose it's like a major league batter. He swings the same bat every single game, and if somebody gives him a different bat or a different weight or something, just something tiny, they notice it. And even if it's better or worse, I'm sure it throws off your game a little bit when you're used to playing a certain way.
Exactly.
That makes sense. Moving on to our next question. This one comes to us from Ito Topping, or Ito Topping. I apologize if I mispronounce your name. Ito Topping's question is, I saw you bring out your Sheik and Marth versus Leffen. Are you going to use them more often, or was it more of a spur-of-the-moment thing?
So when I decided myself to pick Marth and Sheik against Leffen, I already gave up on the idea of beating him with Fox. I think there was a small chance that I was able to do it, but something in my head told me that it doesn't matter because in the end he's a much better player in that matchup at that moment, and me not being warmed up in the matchup and not used to do all the combo strings that are necessary to win. I thought that the only way that I can win that set is to do something crazy, something that he wouldn't expect. So I just picked Marth and Sheik and tried to work myself up from there.
So speaking about Leffen, if your objective is just to take the set off of him, you've got to have a game plan in your head. I'm sure you know his tendencies. You've obviously played him quite a bit before. What does Marth give you in that matchup, or Sheik give you in that matchup, in order to beat Leffen specifically that Fox doesn't?
A better grab. A better grab game. More time when you want to chain grab. Because Marth and Sheik have those inbuilt breaks, I would say, where you can up throw someone or down throw someone, then you basically set yourself up for a tech chase or a regrab. And there are little moments where you can basically take a break and recollect yourself. But with Fox, it's pressure nonstop and follow-up after follow-up after follow-up. So by going Marth and Sheik, I had more time to think, and I think that can be really good in a way.
And do you think that Leffen's the kind of player that tries to prevent you from taking time to think? Because he seems to be, he's a European Fox, if you will. He seems to be very aggressive like you are. I mean, and actually, you know what? I'm going to change the question. Is that part of your game plan when you play Fox? Because we talked a little bit about how you go in, go in, go in. Are you trying to sort of smother your opponent mentally as well as in the game?
Nah, like I said, one of my weakest points is that I don't play against the player. So I try to basically play against the character instead of the player. And Leffen being so experienced in the game, he basically did the thing that I didn't expect. So he went in instead of like being scared of my gims or me being able to grab him. So yeah, it didn't work out that well, but I will change that in the future.
So what are you gonna, if you feel comfortable divulging that information, what are you going to do differently the next time you meet Leffen in a bracket?
I go Fox, no matter what happens, even if I'm 2-0 behind. I will never do those experiments again, I think, because it's not worth it. And thinking about it in a long-term way, I rather take the experience instead of the random win that I shouldn't get because I'm not really playing Morph or Sheik or Captain Falcon. As you may have noticed, me picking Falcon against PP wasn't that good of an idea, but it helped me because I will not do that decision anymore in the future, so I don't have to hope on that. So yeah, I will go Fox from now on and just destroy him.
That's it. There you go. Shots fired. Shots fired. Moving on to our next question. This one comes at us from Let's All Poo. Wants to know, what's it like coming to America to compete? What's it like having to defend your home continent when Americans go over there to compete? And are you big on the whole patriotism thing?
No, I'm not a really big patriot, but I like the idea of defending your home turf, or at least trying to keep the Americans away from winning, because I think they also try to do the same thing when we go over there. And I think it's funny because they're obviously the favorites in a lot of instances because they're supposed to be the better players. But I'm not that big when it comes down to national pride and picking a side. So,
and is that partially because, you know, you're not on Team Germany and Germany isn't necessarily helping you get better? It's just you. I mean, I could imagine that sort of removes country from the discussion in your own mind.
Yeah, I think it comes down to me having a me against the world personality thing going on. But I think it's really rough continuing like that. So I try to be a bigger team player these days, but it's hard because, like I said, I'm not into that beef or that America versus Europe argument. So I try to stay away and watch at it from a distance. But whenever Europe needs me, I will be there. So, yeah.
Spoken like a superhero, dude. Whenever Europe needs me, I'll be there. Like I got chills, man. I got goosebumps. It was beautiful.
Captain Europe.
Perfect. Why is that not a thing yet? You just have a blue shield with a circle of stars on it?
That's a good idea, actually. Yeah.
I agree. And he could fight alongside Captain America against North Korea. Moving on to our next question. Tchives wants to know. Tchives asks, who do you think are the 5 best characters in the game?
So the 5 best characters in the game are Fox, Jix, but I would say Jix is tied with Marth and Sheik, and after that it's Falco, and I think that is already 5. Yeah.
The chat, you brought up Jigglypuff. The chat actually wants to know, how do you beat Jigglypuff?
I try to DI the up throw in the future. That's how I try to beat her. But yeah, I don't have a lot of experience in that matchup, but I played some friendlies against Hungrybox, and me messing up a lot of things still proved to myself that I can do it. But his style is really different than from all the other jigs I played yet. So I don't know, how to give an answer to that question, how to beat Jigs, because I don't have that much experience. You just laser her or give her damage to the percentage that is needed on the stage, and then you either kill her with an up throw, up air, or up smash.
Well, there you go. And I think if most people had their way, Jigs would not be in the game, so you wouldn't have to try to beat it. Not exactly a popular game. Well, and that actually brings me to my next question, which is we talk about a lot of characters as if it's just as simple as here's a character, they have a move set, and the person holding the control is just a puppet for whatever they're capable, or a puppeteer, if you will, for whatever they're capable of. But when you face these top opponents, people like Leffen, Armada, Mango, and Hungrybox, do you feel like it's not so much about the character anymore as it is about what they're capable of as a player?
Yes, because considering all these mix-up situations, and assuming that your tech skill is on point and you already know what to expect as soon as they get an opening, it all comes down to basically get an opening before them or preventing their opening. So yeah, on the highest level of the game, I would say it comes down to player versus player.
Well, there you go. See, and that sort of confirms what I've always thought about the top 5 players, is that we could complain that Jigglypuff is OP. We can complain that Peach is OP back when Armada played a lot of Peach. But at the end of the day, you're the guys behind the controls. It's you guys who have to make these characters great, isn't it?
Yeah, we make the characters, not the other way around. Yeah. And yeah, I see the characters basically as a weapon. And whatever weapon you choose, then that's the way you go, basically. You make the most out of it, not the other way around.
Once again, man, just chill, just goosebumps. That was beautiful. That's perfect. Moving on to our next question. Bacon Mosh wants to know, what changes do you think you need to make in order to make the leap to the next level? How are you going to implement those changes?
So what I have to do is basically is to play against people on a weekly basis. It doesn't have to be that they are top players. It can be average players as well. But I'm thinking about going to America and staying there for a month before a big major or something, and training with some of the top players. And I think that really can help me to reach the next level. And yeah, just trying to reach the next level as fast as possible, I think, is the best approach for me right now.
It's funny, actually, that question comes up because there are some, myself included, who would argue that you sort of already reached a next level very recently, and your results have kind of proven that. Any idea what changed between your recent tournament results and past tournament results to sort of elevate you once again?
I mean...
Or was it just time? Did time take place?
Considering all the factors, like having a good bracket, getting the good matchups, and having a good day, it can be a lot of reasons, but I think the biggest reason is probably time and me getting better in a tournament environment and being able to perform under pressure better and better. So it was just a matter of time, but where I stand right now, I think it's a really good display of my skill, but I don't want to stay there for long, because the longer you stay somewhere, the more unlikely it is to leave it. So I have to make the jump as soon as possible, and I try to make it happen in 2016.
Now, my next question, of course, is you talked about coming over to America for a month before a tournament, and the way you phrase it, once again, it sounds extremely easy. Is that just the nature of the Smash community, that you could just find someone to stay with and make that journey? And if so, who's giving out free room and board in the Smash community, man? I mean, come on.
Yeah, me being a top player probably makes it easier, but I would rather stay with someone that that I have a good time with, instead of someone that I don't like. So I think it's possible. It's just a matter of organization and how early I announce it and ask around. But I already have someone in mind, and I will see how it goes. Yeah.
Well, excellent. Well, good luck to you, and we hope that that works out so you can get prepared. Going on to our next question. Our next one comes from Mank Deems. Very clever name, Mank Deems. Thank you so much. Mank Deems wants to know, has top 20 changed your mentality as a player? And as a follow-up question, do you consider anyone your rival?
No, I consider myself my biggest enemy, so I don't look forward to beat anyone in particular. I just want to be the best person I can be, or at least push myself to my limits and stop procrastinating on a lot of things. So I don't look at anyone as my rival, and yeah.
And it's funny when you mention that, because we've had players on before who had the same mentality, and they sort of struggled with self-criticism and sort of getting over the hump of their own mentality. Is that a roadblock you've ever run into? Is getting past your own hang-ups on your own skill and elevating because of that?
Yeah, like I said, procrastination is definitely a big part of something that holds me back as a player, or stops my progress. So, for example, I hate to look at the sets where I lost, even though I know that if I would look at them and start analyzing them and try to find the things that didn't went that well, would help me a lot. I don't do it because I hate it, I would say, but I think I have to basically get over it and force myself just for the sake of getting better.
Yeah, I know that whenever I watch VODs from my favorite Dota 2 tournaments, I generally skip over the ones where my favorite team loses. I can only imagine what it's like to be the person who played in that match and lost. That can only be difficult.
You don't want to accept it.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. And watching that back and remembering all your mistakes, I'm sure that's not an easy process. Well, our next question comes to us from Gillard, and Gillard wants to know, what do you think is separating you and the other high-tier foxes, namely Lucky, SFAT, and Silent Wolf, from the top tier, which is Mango, Armada, and Leffen?
Probably consistency and not having a straight game plan for a lot of situations, or not having a straight flow chart for those situations, and being a little bit too creative. And yeah, I would say being too creative and not being consistent enough is really what holds us back as players right now. And
so in that case, how do you obtain consistency? Is it a matter of just practice until it's like walking in your sleep, or is there some trick to obtaining consistency? Enlighten us, Ice.
So my approach is to not practice something until I get it. It's to practice something until you can't get it wrong anymore. So yeah, practice something.
That sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. You have to be sick and at the same time be able to play your best. That's how you should look at it, I guess.
Well, there you go. Our next question comes from Mega Craze, and you sort of addressed this a little bit earlier, but Mega Craze wants to know, are you thinking about making a character switch since you've been trying out a few characters against the top 6?
No, I think it's Fox all the way until my hands start hurting a lot. Then my Sheik will probably be my main.
What is it about? I believe I've asked this before, but the answer escapes me. What is it about Fox that does hurt people's hands so much? Is he just that button input intensive that he just sort of wears on you after a while?
I think it comes down how hard you hold the controller. I noticed that myself that I hold the controller really tight in a lot of situations where I feel pressured, or I have the feeling that I have to beat the other one as hard as possible to save my name or just for other reasons. And by holding the controller not so tight, it actually helps you to not develop those hand issues. So I would say, yeah, don't hold the controller so tight because it's not necessary. And yeah, just having a lot of muscles involved in easy movements is really counterproductive. So yeah, everybody should just try to hold the controller a little bit more chill. Yeah,
I think the Smash community and many other esports community need some kind of doctors or series of videos to just teach everybody who's getting started basic hand, tendon, just basic ergonomic maintenance, because I think far too often we see players have to take a break. Guys like Hacks and like Mewtwo King sort of have to step away from things just because they're working so hard that they work themselves out of the competition for a brief stint.
Yes, true. There are a lot of things that people can do. They can try to pay more attention to their nutrition. I myself try to get enough vitamin E because it helps to keep your joints in a good way. And doing hand exercise from time to time is also really good, or trying to pay attention to your hands and actually listen to your body. So when your hands start hurting, then it's better to stop and take a little break instead of overdoing tech skill in the hope that it's much better. So it's about listening to your body and having a good nutrition. And me, myself, I do some workouts from time to time, but I don't know how much of a big impact it has on my hands. So, yeah.
Listen to the man, folks. You got the rest of your life ahead of you. Take care of your hands. Just take care of them.
Yeah.
Moving on to our next question, and one that I'm particularly interested in. We have time for a couple more questions. Encrypted intelligence. It's a lot of letters, folks. I don't know. If you have the answer, please put it in the Twitch chat. Encrypted intelligence. Oh my God, it's encrypted intelligence. The more you know. Anyway, Encrypted Intelligence wants to know, what's your favorite hookah flavor? What has changed since you got picked up by My Insanity, and what's your favorite player to play against? So hookah flavor first.
My favorite hookah flavor, apple, I would say.
Good choice.
It's
Good
apple.
choice, yeah.
And a lot of people say apple is the only true flavor, so that's also one thing. My favorite player to play against is... it's probably one of my friends in Berlin. His name is Karon. It's really fun to play against him, especially when we play a lot against each other and we basically know what to expect from each other. But yeah, it's a long time ago that we played, but I'm looking forward to the future. So yeah, being on My Insanity, it feels good to finally have a sponsor and having people that look after you, and also wearing their jersey and just having that esport feeling connected to it. So yeah, it gives a bit of a professional touch to the whole thing, because I didn't really expect it to see Smash go into that direction, to be honest.
Yeah, I can imagine that going up on stage on a t-shirt versus going up on stage knowing that you've got the support of your sponsor literally on your back. That's got to feel like a pretty good feeling.
Yeah.
Want to squeeze in the last couple of questions before we say goodbye to you. This one comes from Drakester234. Drakester wants to know, what are some of your other favorite games to play besides Melee?
So when I started Melee, I was under the impression that the best thing to do for me is to quit every game that I played, because I was a casual gamer, like a lot of people are. I was playing a lot of N64 games, PlayStation 1, so basically all the good games, and I made the decision to stop playing every game so I can put more time into Melee. But now I kind of regret that decision from back then, but at the same time I can't really make... I can't really say if it was bad or good, because I achieved a lot by doing that. So the only game that I play nowadays are games from the Zelda series, because I'm a big Zelda fan. So yeah, I just try to play the old Zelda games from time to time, and that's basically it. I don't play any other games than Smash.
You should. There's a lot of good ones out there. You should try them. I promise. And
Yeah.
our last question comes from Blue Soup 10. Blue Soup 10 wants to know, what do you think the European scene needs to focus on in order to positively grow over the next year or two?
I think the European scene is already doing a really good job when it comes down to growing. I would say it comes down to having more people that can play against the top players, the top 10 of Europe. And to achieve that, I would say it's really important for those people that are close to that top 10 or top 15, whatever, to look for the practice opportunities with the top players, so we can have a solid top 30 or 40 instead of like being in questions about players' potential, etc. And yeah, just concentrating on the skill will help a lot, and having a lot of tournaments will help too.
Well, there you go, folks. Heed the word, work hard, keep pushing Melee forward. I know everybody's excited to have this game around for another 15, 16 years. As long as we have hands to play it, we'll keep playing Melee. Ice, we're about to close up shop. Any shout outs or anything before we bid you adieu?
Yeah, shout outs to my sponsor. Shout outs to you guys for having me on your show. Shout outs to all my fans, my friends, and yeah, I really hope I can make it to the summit to show the world what I'm capable of, and I will promise to do my absolutely best, and that's it.
Excellent. Well, Ice, thank you so much for coming on this show, man. It was an absolute pleasure to have you, and I think we all learned a lot about Fox and Europe and how to get better. It's always great to hear insight from top players about how to actually improve your game. As for us, that's going to do it for tonight. If you like this show, hit that follow button down below, or if you're feeling particularly generous, hit that $4.99 subscribe button. You get access to the .fan and fire esports emotes. I like to spam them whenever a fight goes poorly in a match, stuff like that. It's a fun pair of emotes to use. If you want to catch the VOD afterwards, if you showed up a little bit late, that's okay. You can catch the full VOD tomorrow on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/daily.esports. If you want to check out more of our esports coverage, go over to facebook.com/.esports and also follow us on Twitter @.esports. That's going to do it for us tonight, folks. I've been Ian Double John Barker. Big thanks to our guest, Ice, coming to us all the way from Germany, and we will see you next time.